Hi, hello, welcome. If you're new here or welcome back, either way, hi. I do not own this fanfiction, nor do I own the fan arts used in this video. Uh, Before we start, though, I am going to read a couple of things, so this AU Hogwarts AU makes more sense because of the quirks and things. Quirks and magic. 80% of people are born with quirks, superpowers which give people various abilities. However, only 70% of people are able to use magic. There may be people who have quirks but aren't able to use magic, in which they are called half-bloods, and there are people who are quirkless as unable to use magic, who are known as squibs. There are several different types of witches, wizards, heroes, and villains, and those with both quirks and magic are both likely to be very powerful and successful. Wizard blood types / families. Depending on the generation of quirk users and those able to use magic, you may be classified as a certain blood family. Purebloods have both quirks and magic abilities. Half-bloods only have a quirk and are unable to use magic. Squibs / quirkless, unable to use quirks or magic. Hogwarts AU High, a high school where students can learn how to use quirks and their magic to the best of their ability in order to become heroes or great wizards. Hopefully that explains a little bit how this AU works. But with that being said, hopefully you enjoy it, and I'll just start reading. How you met. Slytherin, Uzuku Midoriya. You two met while buying school supplies for first year. He ran out of the bookstore too quickly and ended up ramming into you. And when you two started school, you ended up having most of your classes together. What Izuku didn't tell you was that he didn't always have his magic. Izuku was a squib. His father was a wizard and mysteriously disappeared. What a surprise! While his mother was a muggle. Eventually, Izuku met Toshinori Yagi, also known as All Might, one of the greatest and most powerful wizards, and the rest in history. Slytherin, Katsuki Bakugo. As both your families were purebloods, they were good allies. So you two were friends from when you were 3, and were also acquainted with Izuku even though he was a squib and his mom was a muggle. Your parents and Katsuki's parents had actually considered putting you two in an arranged marriage because of how close you two were, but never told you to. Gryffindor, Kirishima Eijiro. You were being bullied by a few Gryffindors and Kiri stepped in to stop them. He invited you to eat lunch with him afterwards, and since then you've been best friends, which will eventually become more. Hufflepuff, Danky Kaminari. Oh, Danky. He was fine with the Boggle Squad and lost control over his broom, 'cause he was messing around and ended up short-circuiting in mid-air. You were walking past the flying grounds while reading a book, and Danky ended up flying right into you. He broke his ankle and you twisted your wrist and had to be taken to the hospital wing. You and Danky were able to talk while healing, and he treated you to a butterbeer. Once you were both healed, he continued seeing you around school and would flirt with you every chance he got. Slytherin, Hanta Zero. You two met on the train ride to school in your first year. All the compartments were full, and Zero noticed you walking hopelessly around the train. He came out of his compartment and offered you to sit with him and Denki. Ravenclaw, Shoto Todoroki. Just like Bakugo, Shoto also came from a pure-blood family, and your parents were fairly acquainted with his father. One night, your family was invited to a little party they were holding before the beginning of your first year, as well as Shoto's. At first, he took no interest in you, but as you two grew older, he began to realize how much of a kind person you were, and he wanted to spend more time with you. Ravenclaw, Ida Tenya. He was asked to sort books in the library and stumbled upon your sleeping form. You had been cramming for an exam and fell asleep. He had to shake you awake and couldn't help but blush when you opened your tired eyes. Every day he would come to the library and find you studying, eventually gathered the courage to offer his help. After that, you two would meet up in the library every day to study and talk, even though the two of you spoke very quietly. Slytherin, Hitoshi Shinso. You were always drawn to the sleep-deprived boy. He was seated next to you in the back of the class in defense against the dark arts, but made it very clear that he wasn't looking to make friends during this time at the school when he placed his books between you like a wall. You would glance over at him once in a while, seeing him with his head in his arms, which were crossed and placed on his desk. One day the poor boy eventually got caught sleeping and received detention. Coincidentally, you had also received detention for passing notes to your friend while you two cleaned the classroom. You attempted to start small talk with Shinso, and surprisingly, he replied. He began to notice you and how sweet you were towards him. He never ignored you after that. Gryffindor. Tetsu, 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 Tetsu. You were close friends with Kirishima, and one day you found him dueling with someone in the courtyard. At first, you assumed he had gotten into a fight, but it turned out that he and Tetsu were also close friends and were in the dueling club together. After Kirishima explained, you went on your way, unknowing of Tetsu's eyes gazing at you. He had fallen head over heels and nervously asked Kirishima to introduce him to you. Kirishima, though, thought that it wasn't really manly and that Tetsu should approach you himself, but agreed anyway. Slytherin, Nato Manama. Manama, you were in his potion class, and he developed a crush on you. He tried to flirt with you, but you thought he was arrogant, can't say it. I don't know, sorry. And decided to ignore him. One day, you were getting bullied by a few Slytherins in your class, and Aizawa wasn't there to see. Tears were forming in your eyes when suddenly Nato stepped in. You were surprised, considering that he was stepping up to people in his own house, but were grateful for his actions. And so, reluctantly, you agreed to go out with him on a date. Hufflepuff, Tamaki Amajiki. Oh, this adorable shy baby. He had tripped in the hall and dropped all his books and was struggling to gather them all. And no one was stopping to help. Muriel was in Quidditch practice. You noticed that his wand had rolled away from him, and someone was about to step on it. So you gracefully slid in to save it. And by gracefully, I mean you slid and ended up scraping your arm. Tamaki was grateful and apologized a million times. You just laughed it off. Gryffindor, Muriel Togata. You were dragged to see Quidditch game by your friends and weren't really enjoying yourself. While you gazed off into space, a bludger suddenly came speeding towards you. You didn't notice at first, but when you did, Muriel had flown in front of you and had taken the hit. You were shocked after the game. Gryffindor won. You rushed down to their changing room to thank him and apologized. He said it was alright, and you treated him to a cup of butterbeer. You've been friends since. How you met. Girls. Hufflepuff, Ochako Uraraka. You guys were learning Wingardium Leviosa, and Uraraka accidentally levitated you instead of the feather. She apologized like 500 times, but you forgave her since you thought she was really pretty and cute. And you've been friends ever since. Hufflepuff, Suyu Asui. You were flying with a few of your friends when someone jinxed your broom and caused you to fly straight into the lake. Your class found it funny at first, until you didn't come back. Lucky for you, Suyu was walking by with Uraraka and saw you go down. She threw off her robes and dove onto the lake, finding you very easily and bringing you back up to the surface. You thanked her and even bought her some chocolate frogs as a gift for her saving your life. You both ended up comparing and trading the cards you got from the frogs and became very close friends. Slytherin, Gyoka Jiro. Jiro was asked to sing at the Yule Hall and was practicing in the Great Hall with Denki, Yaoyorozu, Tokoyami, and Bakugo. You were part of the decoration comite and went into the Great Hall while they were practicing. You couldn't help nod your head subtly to the music as they practiced various songs, and you decided to approach them after they were finished to compliment their musical talents. Jiro was very flustered and nervous because she thought you were really cute, and she wanted to get to know you better. It took some convincing from Denki, but Kyoka got the courage to ask you to hang out sometime, and you agreed. You continued to meet with her during the preparation of the ball, and the two of you became very close. Ravenclaw, Momo Yaoyorozu. You were a troublemaker to say the least. Momo was in quite a few of your classes and found you pretty annoying, while you thought that she was cute and it would be fun to mess with her. She avoided you as much as possible, ignoring your advices and focusing on her studies, until you two ended up being paired together in potions. She hated it. You kept making things difficult for her by scaring her into dropping vials of salamander's blood, making fun of her for stirring too slow, and flirting with her every chance you got. However, due to Momo being distracted by your mischievous acts, she ended up exploding your guys' cauldron. Aizawa filled the two of you on your potion and gave you both detention after school. You had to scrub all the cauldrons and reorganize several vials and bottles. Momo was yelling at you the whole time, and you said you would shut up if she let you take her out on a date the weekend. And without thinking, the poor girl said yes and immediately regretted her decision. Hufflepuff, Mina Ashido. You were a loner and considered yourself very shy. One day, you were reading in the courtyard when you suddenly heard really loud music. You turned in annoyance to see the Baku squad dancing to Muggle music and talking very loudly to each other. You were about to get up and ask them to stop when your eyes landed on Mina. You were amazed at how good she was at dancing, and you couldn't help but stare in awe. Zero noticed this and pointed you out to Denki, who pointed it out to Kirishima, who was getting yelled at by Bakugo, who stopped yelling when he noticed Kirishima and Denki chuckling at you. About you. They all pointed you out to Mina, and you immediately hid behind your book, embarrassed that you were caught staring. However, you didn't expect Mina's hand to gently push down your book, meeting your face with a smile. She asked you your name and offered you to hang out with her and her friends and maybe teach you some dance moves. You awkwardly agreed and you ended up becoming part of the Baku squad after a week of hanging out. Hufflepuff, Toru Hagakure. This is kind of against the invisible girl was very well known in the school due to her being, well, invisible. She was in your charms class and had actually developed a small crush on you, and she thought that you would never notice her. However, she was wrong, as she stumbled upon you one night using an invisibility coat. It turned out that you were jealous of her being invisible because you wished you would just disappear, as you were bullied very often by your classmates. Hagakure tried to comfort you, and you two became pretty close. You would still get bullied once in a while, but she would tell them off and make sure you were okay. Ravenclaw, Itsuka Kendo. She was a perfect for Ravenclaw and a member of the Quidditch team. You were in the training groups one drizzly afternoon, trying to stay balanced on your broom, when you eventually fell several feet off the ground. Kendall was close and noticed you fall, swooping in, grabbing you before you hit the ground. She offered to help you practice, to which you gracefully agreed, and she even encouraged you to try out for the Quidditch team. Hufflepuff, Nedre Haddle, you two met in the Diagon Alley, when you were both in the candy store, admiring different sweets. There was only one box left of every flavor beans, and she let you have it. You thanked her and ended up sharing the jelly beans with her because she was so nice to you. How you met. Villains. Tomar Shigaraki. Shiggy is like Voldemort in this AU, except he still has his nose. The leader of the Death Eaters is all for one. However, it was Shigaraki who drew in followers and made all the preparations for All for One. He's like Peter Pettigrew, except less creepy and more useful. He's more like a partner to All for One instead of his servant. Meanwhile, you worked in the ministry and were trying to find the whereabouts of All for One and his followers, and Shigaraki had to put a stop to it. He would stalk you, watching your every move everywhere you went. Despite his goals of trying to find a way to terminate you, something about you drew him to you. It may have been your ambition, your intelligence, your appearance, perhaps. He decided that instead of killing you, he would try and form an alliance to get you to join their side. You were surprised, to say the least, when you found out Shigaraki in your home, sitting at your dining table while drinking coffee. Oh, I'm imagining. You were frightened. But something about the way his blue hair framed his face made you drawn to the mysterious figure in your kitchen. You quickly shook your head and raised your wand, asking what he wanted, and he offered you a deal. He would spare your life as well as the lives of your family and friends if you worked as a double agent of the ministry and the Death Eaters. Hawks? And if you reported anything at all to the ministry, he would not hesitate to turn you to dust. You hesitantly agreed and began working under Tomar Shigaraki. Dobby, you had gotten a job in the bookstore of Diagon Alley and were walking around looking around different stores after your first day. You took a wrong turn and stumbled into Nocturn Alley by accident. You got lost, unable to find your way, eventually gave up and leaned against one of the walls of one of the buildings. You didn't notice Dobby in the shadows with a cigarette, so you were surprised when he approached you. Pretty things like you shouldn't be in this place like this, he said to you with a smirk. You scoffed at this and asked if he knew the way out. He did, but he refused to help you. You suddenly held your wand to his neck, threatening him to the way back, and help you find your way back to Diagon Alley. He complied and helped you find your way. Despite you avoiding Nocturn Alley, you would still see him around Diagon Alley every day after work, and he would approach you with a cocky remark or a pickup line. He eventually got you to give in, letting him take you on a date. To your surprise, you enjoyed it. Himiko Toga, you had been devout followers to Shigaraki and All-For-One for a very long time, and had become one of their most trusted members. One day, 2 new members joined, Dobby and Toga, and you were assigned to teach Toga everything you had learned. She looked up to your lots and would occasionally flirt with you. I can't say that word. Why? I don't know. As you were only a few years older than her, which sometimes got on your nerves. You had to admit she was cute, but you had to focus on your devotion to All for One. Her flirting and teasing never stopped, so you eventually gave in and offered to take her on a date when the 2 of you had time. Twice. You met when you both joined the Death Eaters, and you 2 would end up working together on most of your villainous missions. You had similar personality switches, except it was intentional and you had control. You were manipulative towards others by wearing a mask, and that mask ended up becoming part of your personality. Overhaul. You were in debt to the Mafia since you bought illegal potion supplies from them and weren't able to pay them back. So you were forced to work for him. You were made his personal assistant and eventually became one of his closest allies. Hi! So hopefully you enjoyed it. I sounded dead in some parts because this was recorded different time periods. So yeah. Wait, did that make sense? I don't know. Sorry if I mispronounced any words. I do not own any of this, nor do I own the fan arts used in this video. The link to this fanfiction, if you want to collect that, would be in the description box. They're all separate, so we have the boys, the girls, the villains. Yeah, yeah. I really don't know what to say, so goodbye. Hopefully you have a great day, night, midnight, whatever. Afternoon, whenever you're hearing this, and feel free to comment. I love liking them and responding to them. With that being said, goodbye.